Good morning. Under Adolf Hitler, Nazi Germany had invaded and taken control of most of Western Europe. Later, they began to systematically kill Jews of Europe and others they deemed undesirable. There were only a few countries left who could stand up to this evil war machine. The Allied forces, those who opposed Nazi Germany, came up with a plan to retake Western Europe. Codenamed Operation Overlord began on June 6, 1944. It consisted of 156,000 Allied troops from the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Free France, and Norway. 70 years ago today, the largest invasion fleet ever assembled before or since landed on 5 beachheads in Normandy Beach in western France. There were 5,000 ships and landing craft, 50,000 vehicles, and 11,000 planes. The Allied code names for the beaches along the 50-mile stretch of the Normandy coast were named Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. Omaha Beach was the costliest and is known as Bloody Omaha because it claimed the lives of 2,000 American soldiers.
Did you know the invasion of France on June 6, 1944 was a triumph of intelligence, coordination, secrecy, and planning? The bold attack was also a tremendous risk. Ultimately, it succeeded because of individual soldiers' bravery in combat. Learn some of the basic facts about D-Day.
Since June 6, 1944, people have been asking what the D in D-Day means. Does it stand for decision? The day that 150,000 Allied soldiers landed on the shores of Normandy was certainly decisive. And with ships, landing craft, and planes leaving port by the tens of thousands for a hostile shore, it is no wonder that some would call it disembarkation or departed. There is not much agreement on the issue, but the most ordinary and likely of the explanations is the one offered by the U.S. Army in their published manuals. The Army began using the codes H-hour and D-Day during World War I to indicate the time or date of an operation start. Military planners would write of events planned to occur on H-hour or D-Day long before the actual dates and times of the operation would be known, or in order to keep plans secret. And so the D may simply refer to the day of invasion.
An invading army had not crossed the unpredictable, dangerous English Channel since 1688, and once the massive force set out, there was no turning back. The 5,000-vessel armada stretched as far as the eye could see, transporting over 150,000 men and nearly 30,000 vehicles across the channel of the French beaches. 6 parachute regiments, over 13,000 men, were flown from 9 British airfields and over 800 planes. More than 300 planes dropped 13,000 bombs over the coastal Normandy immediately in advance of the invasion. War planners had projected that 5,000 tons of gasoline would be needed daily for the first 20 days after the initial assault. In one of the planning scenarios, 3,489 long tons of soap would be required for the first 4 months in France. By nightfall of June 6, more than 9,000 Allied soldiers were dead or wounded, but more than 100,000 had made it ashore, securing French coastal villages. And within weeks, supplies were being unloaded at Utah and Omaha beachheads at a rate of over 20,000 tons per day. Captured Germans were sent to the American prisoner of war camps at a rate of 30,000 POWs per month from the D-Day until Christmas 1944. 33 detention facilities were in Texas alone.
The pre-television era Americans got their breaking news from their radio. London-based American journalist George Hicks made history with his radio broadcast from the deck of USS Ancon at the start of the D-Day invasion.
We have yet to see a German plane over the amphibious convoy, which doesn't necessarily mean that we shan't see them before the attack is over. Our air support has been fine, and the loudspeakers call out almost constantly Spitfires on the fort, or Mustangs overhead, or B-17s passing on the starboard side. And as far as I know, no report has come in of attack by Nazi sea craft onto the convoys. Now it's almost black dark, and you see the ships lying in all directions.
And American Noah. Louisiana entrepreneur Andrew Jackson Higgins first designed shallow draft boats in the late 1920s to rescue Mississippi River flood victims. Higgins tried for years to sell his boats to the U.S. military, but he was rejected repeatedly. At last, the Marine Corps selected a flat-bottom landing craft for troops landings on Pacific beaches. Higgins, who had paid heavily out of his pocket to promote his boats, finally landed the government contract, and his factories produced 20,000 of the versatile craft for the war effort, including D-Day.
After their defeat in Normandy, the German forces in Western Europe were so reduced that the American, British, Canadian, Polish, and Free French armies advanced to capture Paris and shortly after Berlin. Casualties on D-Day itself were lighter than Allied commands had feared. How important was the Battle of D-Day? Without D-Day, Hitler would have deployed many more divisions to resist the Red Army. He would have had more time to develop and deploy his modern weapon of terror, the V-2 rocket. The war might have continued indefinitely. The Holocaust, which claimed the lives of 10 million, would have continued on. The evilness of Nazi Germany would have expanded, reaching many other countries, causing destruction and millions of more deaths. This is why D-Day has also been called the greatest day, a day when good prevailed over evil.